Right now on the National Weather Desk, deadly deluge. Torrential rain and flash flooding leave at least 2 people dead in the Northeast.
I woke up because my bed was floating.
While monsoon season in Utah triggers more flooding.
It was literally like a river ran through our house.
And a deadly lightning strike.
If you see it off in the distance, it's time to start taking action.
We'll show you efforts underway in Florida to better understand and preserve the coral reefs.
Looking at thermal stress and bleaching effects and how widespread that is and on what species it is.
Baltimore's harbor was once filled with sewage. Now it's swimmable.
It's not nearly as polluted as the comments on the internet would lead you to believe.
And how cornfields can impact the weather in the Midwest.
National Weather Desk.
Good morning and welcome to the National Weather Desk. I'm Angela Brown. At least 2 people are dead after torrential rain triggered flash flooding in Connecticut and New York. The water quickly turned streets into rivers and even filled some homes up to the ceilings in some cases. This is what it looked like in Oxford, Connecticut. Cars literally floating down a street just a few hours earlier. You can see all this rain here, all this water. Up to a foot of rain fell here from late Sunday through early yesterday morning. A weather expert from Penn State called the system a training thunderstorm. He says each thunderstorm is like a car on a train, so they just keep going over the same place, and it led to significant damage. We have reports starting with John Craven in Connecticut.
With dozens of roads washed out, state transportation leaders say the recovery will take time. Governor Lamont declared a state of emergency. He's asking for federal assistance. So far, 2 women are confirmed dead in Oxford.
A rash of water came in, the vehicle shifted, the firefighter fell down, the victim fell down, got swept down the river. Second victim was in a vehicle, climbed out and tried crossing the water, made it to a sign, and was hanging onto the sign.
Connecticut State Police are using dogs and air assets to survey the damage. In Monroe, the water so deep that Norwalk's deep water rescue vehicle couldn't even be used. Instead, forklifts helped rescue this family.
It looked like a raging river running through somebody's yard.
A basement staircase turned into a waterfall. The rain too heavy for anyone to stop it.
And there was a wave of water. It was a river of water coming into my basement.
George Echeverria says he just bought this home on Martingale Court in Eastetocket 1 year ago. He has no flood insurance, and the basement is filled with 9 feet of water.
It is destroyed. The water came all the way to the edge of my first floor.
And this area can't seem to catch a break. Workers are trying to pump the water out off the street, but the rain won't stop.
This is sewage. This is raw sewage. Hagerman's Landing Road saw floodwaters as high as the street signs.
I woke up because my bed was floating.
The next thing Christian Loy heard was his elderly neighbors screaming for help.
And I swam across the back to help them get out of the house. And we waited there on the little roof of their extension for the firemen to come down the backyard and pull us out with ropes to give us our life preservers.
Christian says that couple is okay, as are many from Rocky Point, all the way to Sound Beach, as the cleanup process begins.
And down to Utah, where monsoon season is leaving a significant mark on that state. In just the last couple of days, a fisherman was struck and killed by lightning while several communities have been hit with round after round of heavy rain. We have 2 reports this time coming from Utah, starting with Jim Spiewak on that deadly lightning strike.
There's really no safe place to be when you're outside during a thunderstorm.
26-year-old Skylar Granith of Ogden passed away after being struck by lightning while fishing on the Bear River. That's according to the Box Elder County Sheriff's Office, who provided this drone video of the search effort.
Even if the clouds are off in the distance, say it could even be sunny where you are. And if there are clouds producing thunder and lightning, say 10, 15 miles away, they can still reach that distance away from the thunderstorm.
The video shows the boats in the water searching in the dark for 2 others who were thrown from the capsized boat. The sheriff's office says that they had injuries consistent with lightning exit wounds but are expected to live. John Wilson is a meteorologist with the Salt Lake branch of the National Weather Service.
If you hear anything like that, or even if you see it off in the distance, it's time to start taking action to get yourself in a little bit safer of an area.
Utah is in the top 10 in the country for lightning strikes per capita, but dying by lightning is rare. Wilson says only about 20 people die by lightning in the U.S. each year.
It's a relatively low number, but there are hundreds of more that are injured by lightning strikes.
The cleanup from the storm has started for Robin Cox and her family.
What was it like last night?
So it came fast.
Some estimates say 3 inches in about an hour, and eventually enough to fill Cox's basement to the ceiling.
It was literally like a river ran through our house.
A similar story for many people in the city.
I've marked homes that have damage, okay? And these are the ones that we know have major damage.
Before people could even finish up cleaning from yesterday, it's raining again. And they're worried if it doesn't stop, they could have it happen all over again.
And despite the flooding, Utah needs the rain monsoon season is providing. It was a very dry summer, but the monsoon rains of the past few weeks helped bring soil moisture back to relatively normal levels. And let's move now to Hurricane Ernesto, now east of Canada. Its memory, though, is still very much alive along the East Coast. In New Jersey, for example, more than a dozen people were rescued from riptides in the Atlantic. Some beachgoers said the waves were so loud you could barely talk. As for Ernesto, it will weaken into a tropical storm as it heads off into the North Atlantic. And over in the Pacific, we are watching the path of Tropical Storm Gilma. Right now, it's about 750 miles off the coast of Baja California with maximum sustained winds of around 50 miles per hour. There's no immediate threat right now to land, so there are no watches or even warnings posted at this point. At least one person is dead after a luxury yacht sank off the coast of Sicily. The Italian Coast Guard says a tornado hit the vessel early Monday while it was anchored off the coast. 15 people have been rescued from the scene, including the captain and also a child. 6 people still remain missing at this point, including British tech tycoon Mike Lynch. As of Monday night, divers had reached the yacht's hull 160 feet below sea level. And Florida's coral reef is the 3rd largest barrier reef in the world, stretching nearly 350 miles along the coast. But climate change and warming oceans are putting that reef at risk. Now, research teams are working to collect data to better understand how to save and also revive those reefs. Danny Travers has more.
Researchers with the Palm Beach Zoo revisiting this dive site for the first time in 10 months.
We're documenting all the different species of corals that we're finding in the county. We're also looking at thermal stress and bleaching effects and how widespread that is and on what species it is. And we're also looking for coral diseases. What diseases and what corals are they affecting and to what extent?
Researchers are doing all of this by laying out these lines where they were surveying. From there, they measured the coral, conducted health assessments, and noted how water temperature affected these corals over the past year.
Last year, we had record temperatures in South Florida that affected the corals. A lot of thermal stress, a lot of bleaching.
Last season, divers discovered an anomaly compared to the rest of Florida's coral reef tract.
The good news here is in Palm Beach County, the water temperature has been lower, which means that the corals here have been less stressed and much more healthy.
Water temperatures reached triple digits this time last year further south. But researchers say the typical water temperature in Palm Beach County around this time is low 80s.
To put that into perspective, that water was very comfortable for me to dive in. But researchers say that's also more than ideal for the coral to survive it. And now as the season goes on, the water is only expected to get hotter, and that's where the research continues.
For now, research from the first dive back was already promising.
So you can see my health assessment is pretty blank.
So blank is good.
Blank is very good.
And what makes a reef so successful doesn't end with just the coral.
As far as the fish life, and we saw the shark and the turtle, all of those are really good indications that you have a nice, healthy ecosystem.
Data that gives researchers hope this one ecosystem in Palm Beach County could be part of the long-term solution to saving Florida's coral reef tract as a whole.
The blue supermoon could be seen with the naked eye Monday night. These photos are a collection from our viewers. NASA describes the blue supermoon as the biggest and brightest of all the full moons throughout the year. The rare solar event has a big impact on Earth, leading to higher than normal tides. And the next super blue moons are in 2037. And coming up on the National Weather Desk, we'll share tips on how you can get great photos of a full moon and other events in the night sky. And we're going to find out how cornfields can contribute to heat and humidity.
I'm meteorologist Charlie Lopresti with Look at the Northeast. We have some seasonably cool temperatures on the way in the Northeast today. Look at these highs. These are not very representative of mid to late August here. We should be in the upper 60s and low 70s. The front that made its way through last night is introducing a drier air mass. It's less humid. That's good news. The bad news is it's cool, and we have a big sprawling upper low. That will keep the chance for a few scattered showers, particularly in New York and northern New England. There's the chance for a few showers on Wednesday as well.
I'm meteorologist Jasmine Lomax with a look at the mid-Atlantic region. The day begins with cool temperatures and plenty of sunshine. Into the afternoon, we're still talking a lot of sunshine and a quiet but breezy and cool forecast. Into Wednesday, we start the day with lots of sunshine before more clouds start to move in a little later on. Temperatures will reach the 60s and 70s for below average temperatures. Then overnight, temperatures drop to the 40s, 50s, and 60s ahead of another cool day.
I'm meteorologist Vitas Reed. Here's a look at your southeast forecast highs for the day. A little bit cooler up in Raleigh at 83 degrees, as well as Nashville, 82. Get hotter down in Mobile, 94 degrees, as well as Pensacola, 94. Jacksonville, 93. About 90 in Tampa. Looks like we're seeing plenty of sunshine across the area as we go through the day, from Memphis down through Birmingham, Huntsville, Alabama. It looks like pretty nice conditions, but by the afternoon, you see some pop-up showers and thunderstorms as you get into southern Georgia and portions of Florida.
You are watching the National Weather Desk.
After a 14-year effort, the Waterfront Partnership of Baltimore has declared its inner harbor swimmable. Emily Gracie sat down with the team that made this accomplishment possible to find out how they did it.
It was really business leaders from the downtown Baltimore area who came together and said, we need to do something about water quality in the Baltimore Harbor.
Okay, so let's talk about why it wasn't swimmable over the past several years. What were the things that were in the harbor that were problematic?
So the first thing that Waterfront Partnership did back in 2010 was we reached out to some scientists and researchers at the Center for Watershed Protection, the University of Maryland, a group called Biohabitats, and we asked them to prepare a healthy harbor plan for what it would take to make the harbor safe for swimming in just 10 years. And we really looked at three major contributors: bacteria coming from our city's old sewer infrastructure, trash and litter coming from our streets, and stormwater runoff.
Just a few months ago, there were people swimming in the harbor. So is it swimmable now?
In terms of how swimmable is the Baltimore Harbor, I mean, it's way more swimmable than the average person thinks. That's for sure. It's not nearly as polluted as the comments on the internet would lead you to believe. The truth is that just like any urban waterway and much of the Chesapeake Bay, the harbor is safe for recreation so long as it hasn't rained within the past 48 hours. When it rains, that's really when pollution is carried off of our streets and our alleys into our waterways, and it takes time for that pollution to dissipate. The good news is that that harmful pollution, which is mainly bacteria, dissipates relatively quickly. Within 48 hours, we see that bacteria scores go from water contact advisory to being passing and safe for recreation.
To hear more about the science behind the Baltimore Harbor cleanup, check out this week's episode of our podcast, Off the Radar. You'll also hear the story of the woman who swam a 24-mile stretch of the Chesapeake Bay into Baltimore to celebrate the whole thing. The fact, basically, she's celebrating you could actually swim in the harbor. Find Off the Radar anywhere you listen to your podcast. And the start of the football season is just around the corner. Meteorologist Christina Ernie recently caught up with some of the New England Patriots to find out what they consider as ideal weather to play in.
Rain or shine, football must go on. I'm at a Patriots practice, and we're going to ask some players what their favorite weather is to play in.
I just like it when it's cloudy. I feel like it foreshadows good games for me and bad games for other people. So.
Not too hot, not too cold, just, calm. 60 degrees and sunny. Nothing else.
Specifically.
My favorite weather has to be sunny, but not too hot. Maybe like 85 degrees, no breeze, good sun, a little bit of clouds, no rain at all.
I would say snow game or rain game for sure.
Was there ever a weather game that was really, difficult or?
Yes, I think back in college I played at Minnesota. The wind chill was like -7. And I'm from Georgia, so I ain't used to playing like that. Man, I couldn't feel my hands during some of the plays. By the end of the game, my toes were like frostbitten and stuff like that.
2017 at Michigan. It was a blizzard the whole game and we couldn't see nothing. So that was a lot of fun.
One year when I was at Penn State, we played Michigan State in a blizzard. It was probably like 6 inches of snow on the ground. It was like backyard football.
The snow game last year, that was pretty cool too. If you had good fundamentals, keeping your feet under you, you didn't have a hard time playing in it.
Well, when you hear your local meteorologists talk about high winds or even windy conditions or even give a wind advisory, it often has something to do with something called a pressure gradient. Meteorologist Josh Kozlowski recently posted about it on TikTok, and let's take a look.
Outside of severe thunderstorms, there can sometimes be strong gusty winds, just general wind in the atmosphere. Many times this occurs, an example like what you're seeing here, between an area of low pressure and an area of high pressure. Sometimes they're very close together and you get what's called a tight pressure gradient, which just basically means a high change in barometric pressure over a given distance. Now, to model this in more simplistic terms, if you were to use a can or bottle of soda and you open it like so, okay, that sound is the sound of pressure balancing between inside the can and outside the can. So next time you see a weather map like this, think of the high pressure as the unopened can of soda, and the low pressure is the pressure around the outside of that can. When it's opened, it releases the pressure, moves the air. In the world of meteorology, the movement of air, we call it wind. For the National Weather Desk, I'm meteorologist Josh Kozlowski.
And if you've noticed that the wind tends to be more active in the afternoon and also the evening hours, it is. Meteorologist Mitchell Combs explains why.
There are several factors that can help answer this question. First, the gases of the atmosphere behave like a fluid, much like water. Because of this behavior, the atmosphere is constantly in motion, horizontally and vertically. One atmospheric location with copious amounts of movement is known as the boundary layer. During the day, when the sun heats the Earth's surface, air begins to rise. The atmosphere responds by developing these vertical circulations known as convective boundary layer circulations. On calm days, these circulations often result in cumulus clouds, but these circulations can also be the trigger for summertime thunderstorms. The next part of this equation relates to a common feature of wind, the fact that wind often increases with height. When vertical circulations develop in the boundary layer, they help to transport those higher wind velocities down to the surface. When temperatures cool overnight, those circulations collapse and winds subside. These circulations are a big reason why commercial aircraft cruise at 35,000 feet to avoid the turbulence these circulations create.
Well, the Perseus meteor shower peaked last week, but is still providing good opportunities for sky watching photographers. Meteorologist Matt Monroe has tips on how you can get great photos of stars and meteors in the night sky.
It is so incredibly hard to actually catch these shooting stars in action. What you have to do really is kind of set up a tripod with a camera and then take exposures every few seconds. That's exactly what Paul Chamberlain did from Lake Tahoe. So what you're looking at here is 240 exposures, one taken every 30 seconds. If you do the math, that's about 2 hours worth of pictures, all compressed into one picture. Got a couple things going on here. Notice all these circles. Those are individual stars, star treks moving across the sky. So that's what you're looking at there. And then all these green green laser beam looking things, those are actually the Perseid meteors streaking across the sky. And from pretty much start to finish here, I count about 50 or 60 of these meteors shooting across the sky. That is really super cool stuff. The Perseid meteor shower goes all the way through the end of August. Couple of fun facts here. They're actually streaking across the sky at over 133,000 miles per hour. They're about the size typically of a grain of sand, and they're going at 3,000 degrees Fahrenheit. That's how hot they are when they're streaking across the sky about 60 miles above your head. So once again, Perseid meteor shower now through the end of August. Happy meteor gazing.
And time now for a short break, but first we take flight over Ocean City, Maryland.
Well, a very good Tuesday morning, everyone. I'm meteorologist Andrew Buckmichael. For your day today, we're going to be seeing a lot of 80s and 70s across the Midwest here. We got a little bit of rain out there across the plains, and that'll be working its way to the east as we go into the day tomorrow. But it's not much rain. Most of the Midwest still staying dry on Wednesday as we continue on into your Thursday. Got a lot of sunshine, a little bit of rain up there in the northern plains, but temperatures still 70s and 80s for most of us, and getting into the 90s there in South Dakota.
Good Tuesday morning to you. Meteorologist Chris Succi. Look at our forecast. It'll be a day of heat safety awareness all across Texas after a warm morning. Those temperatures from Dallas, Austin, and Abilene, San Antonio hitting 100 plus, including Houston. Heat advisories and excessive heat warnings are in effect. Notice it's a little bit more manageable. Little Rock back into New Orleans with highs in the 80s and 90s. Wednesday's forecast 80s and 90s, but parts of Texas, again, 100 or hotter.
Well, hi there, everybody, and a good Tuesday morning to you. I'm meteorologist Shannon O'Donnell. Out west, it has a little bit of a fall feel going. We had that huge round of thunderstorms come through Portland and Seattle this weekend, and in its wake, it seems that the storm door is now open because we'll have several more summer showers bouncing through the northwest as the week goes on. 110, though, in Vegas, 84 for some heat in Jackson Hole. High pressure still firmly in charge, along with some monsoonal moisture in the desert southwest. And that's the scene from here.
You are watching the National Weather Desk.
Welcome back, everyone. Have you ever heard of corn sweat? It's a thing, really. Plants naturally give off moisture. It can even make surrounding areas even more humid. Let's take a look at a recent Instagram post from meteorologist Joe DiCarlo explaining exactly what corn sweat is.
I'm meteorologist Joe DiCarlo with a term you probably never heard of, corn transpiration or corn sweat. Yes, corn sweat. Well, if you live in an area that has a lot of agriculture, a lot of corn, well, you probably notice it's hot and humid in the summer and the heat index is really high. Well, why? Plants, they naturally give off moisture through their leaves. That makes it a little bit more humid, especially when you have that wind blowing that moisture from the corn into the environment. That increases your feels like temperature. The heat index makes it more hot, more humid. So if you have a lot of corn that's growing really green, you're going to have more of that corn sweat and therefore higher humidity.
And looking for more weather content, check us out on social media. You can find us on all your favorite social media platforms. Just search for the National Weather Desk. We'll be right back. And thank you so much for joining us. I'm Angela